Hello everyone, and welcome to this very special panel of how to overcome barriers in healthy habits. Don't we all want to learn that? How to overcome all the barriers and challenges that we constantly face when we are trying to follow healthy habits? My name is Nandini Gulati, and I've been working as a holistic health coach for about 8 years. And before that, I had a corporate career, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made to quit that. I have co-authored a healthy plant-based cookbook called Guilt-Free Vegan Cookbook, and I'm now working on my next one, which is going to be a plant-based Indian cookbook, and it's going to be available just after Diwali. I'm presently on a sabbatical to go deeper into understanding of health and resolve my own remaining health issues. I love to explore the mystical aspects of the universe, and I have a small organic garden patch on my terrace, which I really enjoy, and it keeps me busy and happy for hours. So, our first panelist here, and I'm very, very excited to welcome Manasa Rajan. She's a health and wellness coach from Bangalore and a food design expert at CureFit. I want to learn all about what food design is about. She emphasizes the importance of plant based whole foods, mindful eating, and a holistic approach to treating chronic health issues. As a nutrition expert, she herself follows a plant based diet focusing on the benefits that come from Indian staples of spices and whole grains. For her, it is important to listen to the body's needs, and she curates diet plans for her clients based on accommodating their needs and focused on their long term health. Our second panelist is Vinita Contractor. She's a holistic nutrition and lifestyle coach based in Mumbai. She's a certified holistic nutritionist from AFPA in the US and eCornell, as well as other courses in wellness, culinary, nature cure, and Ayurveda diet. Featured in a number of publications such as Mumbai Mirror, Midday Asian Age, The Hindu, Hindustan Times, etc. Vinita offers nutrition and lifestyle coaching programs via consultations, webinars, workshops, DIY, juice cleanse, and detox programs, and has founded the Leaf E Academy, which offers online courses to people which they can take at their own pace. And that's really, really wonderful. I've looked through some of those courses and they all look amazing. And I'm going to join one of them very soon. Bhavna Kapoor, our third panelist, is joining us from the hills in Dehradun, and we are all envious of that. She's a certified holistic health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, New York. She specializes in plant-based nutrition and cooking. She has over 30 years of training in Iyengar yoga and a deep interest in healing through nature. Bhavna integrates all her learnings to coach individuals and groups to simplify healthy living. Bhavna turned vegan 9 years ago, first for her own health, but being a nature and environment lover, she became an ethical vegan for life. Bhavna's work and recipes are featured in major dailies such as Midday, Mumbai Mirror, Live Mint, The Times of India, The Week, etc. She has hosted a health show on Radio 1 Mumbai and also runs a twice-a-year retreat at Kasauli called Nurture, which I'm also very, very lucky to be part of. So we're going to start, and I'm going to invite Vinita first to speak about what are the top 2 healthy habits, in your opinion, that people should inculcate for optimal health.
Yes, so I think we're all in a global vegan expo, so it goes without saying that all of us would emphasize first thing on cleaning up our diet, eating more plant-based, more simple and organic food, more fresh and less processed food. That's a given. But when it comes to 2 top healthy habits, I think the first one would be to get our sleep sorted. I think with more of us being online and even otherwise, I think our lives have kind of gotten taken over with the devices that we use. We have forgotten what our natural rhythm is supposed to be. And staying up late, or it's not even considered staying up late anymore, it's normal. And I think whatever it takes to get our sleep reset is, I think, one of the first things I would like to say as being important. So whether that means having a relaxation routine to get you to bed, whether it's keeping a cutoff time by which you stop using devices, whether starting a small meditation practice, or if you're, with a family, starting, a sharing circle, whatever it takes to get you to bed early and, wake up naturally is what I would tell people to do as the first habit. And the second habit would be incorporating movement in our life. Many of us consider exercise done once a day, sorry, as enough. Where 1 hour in a day we have devoted to exercise. Most of us don't even do that. But it's important to understand that we weren't created to sit like this in front of devices where we are sitting all day. And whether it's taking the stairs, whether it's going out and getting your own glass of water, even if you have someone to get it for you, whether it's just taking a stroll to the market to buy something which you could easily order on Amazon, even with a mask, even that's movement. Whether it's, trying to get a standing desk, whether it's, trying to see, can I do something with my body rather than use a fingertip to do it. And these are simple things. And like you've always stressed on the fact that it's everyday healthy habits that make a difference. It's not what you do once in a while. So my top two habits would be get sleep sorted and get movement into our life in addition to exercise.
Thanks, Vanita. Manasa, could you speak to us a little bit about what you think are the top two habits people should be inculcating for optimal health?
So I think foremost is, which everybody can benefit with, is to eat more fruit and vegetables. Such a simple thing. I think all of us believe that we eat fruits and vegetables, but if the predominant food group that we eat is fruit and vegetables, it can significantly impact everybody's health, no matter where we are in our health journey. With the amount of micronutrients that will add to the daily diet just by eating whatever is seasonal, whatever is available, just eat more of it. So I think at some point our traditional diet has become so processed food heavy, grain heavy, that we eat the one apple or one banana as the notional fruit or vegetable portion, and that's just not enough. If each of us can eat significantly more, that will help our gut health, that will help our immunity, the way we look at recovery, cellular regeneration, how we age, disease prevention. Each and every aspect of our health can benefit just by doing one simple thing. And the second, really, something that I really strongly work towards at CureFit, as well as with my clients, is that people should avoid and remove anything that has chemicals and synthetic flavors, synthetic colors, preservatives in their food. These are not food. So it's very important to read the labels. It's very important to educate yourself and to mindfully remove these foods from your diet. Anything that comes with a bunch of numbers and a bunch of hard to pronounce chemicals are not really food. They're toxins, and they have an impact. They get absorbed and held on in our cells, in our organs. They are the precursor to disease. They are all extremely, they're designed, I mean, the food industry has spent millions of dollars to, these chemicals makes our food more addictive. We tend to eat more of it, have cravings associated with it. So it ruins the whole balance and the understanding of how we look at our hunger, intuitive eating, and we abuse food. And it hasn't happened naturally. It has happened through these chemicals. So if we can remove foods that have chemicals and toxins and synthetic additives, and keep our food whole, simple, clean, natural, that can significantly impact our health just by adding fruit and vegetables and by removing things that are not food in our diet.
Okay, thank you very much. You know how these chemicals really make food very addictive, not food very addictive. How people can overcome this chemical addiction that they have. Like, I know people who have to have their Maggie, they cannot live without Maggie. In fact, if you recall, about 2 years ago, Maggie went out of production because of some chemicals that were found that were harmful. And there were moms groups who were crying for Maggie to come back. How do you deal with an addiction that's like so strong?
Yeah, I think all addictions, the crux of dealing with them is the same way, whether it's, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or sugar, or even processed foods. They are equally dangerous. They impact health equally, in a huge way. But also to help people deal with that addiction, the process is the same. That there is, you start with knowledge and how it impacts their health and what's happening in the body. So at an intellectual level, if the person understands this is not good for me, but wholly,
Mm.
not just it's not good for me because I will gain weight, but it's not good for me because this is the start of my PCOD, or this is the start of having high cholesterol, or this is the start of heart disease, or some digestive issues. In a holistic manner, what all is the impact of a processed food is really important to understand, which is not very clear, which is there in pockets of information, but it's not widespread, or it's not understood so deeply. And then the very strong marketing message of how it's great for you, which is conflicting to what as health coaches we may be talking about. And then the second is having tools to move away from it in a practical manner, because like any addiction, there has to be a process depending on how the person is. Can he or she remove it from their diet 100%, or what is it that they can add, which is, say, natural quality fat that is more satiating, to balance out that craving that they may be having. So I think the techniques or tools that we provide with an individual, how their personality is also a journey. And there is an element of discipline that is required in the initial phase, because to break a habit and to gain a new one has that process of some discipline, some consistency, and then it becomes about how you feel, and you don't want to eat something that makes you feel terrible, or
Okay.
it's a self fulfilling kind of good habit. So the process is on those lines.
Okay, now let me ask Bhavna Kapoor to share what she believes are two healthy habits that can help people get to optimal health.
Yeah. So I think the top healthy habit, which I believe is actually very similar to what Manasa talked about, which is including like more and more fruits and vegetables, in our daily diet. And as just reiterating, in fact, like everything that Manasa shared, that we feel like our diets are actually like have become so heavy in grain and processed foods, and even meat and dairy products for that matter. They're so integral to us that we feel like, okay, when I ask a client that, are you eating fruit, they'll say, yeah, I'm eating like one banana a day, and like they feel like that's enough. So in fact, what I try to suggest to people is that make at least one meal in a day which is only fruit. That would actually count as sufficient amount of fruit. And when it comes to vegetables, start all your other meals with vegetables, and ideally bring it up to at least 50% of what your plate looks like. 50% of your plate should be ideally vegetables in all your other meals. And that's when the amount of fruits and vegetables that we're having is going to be sufficient for us to revitalize us, to help us heal, to help us really gain good health. And of course it can be it'd be great if we can get organic and organic vegetables and fruits as much as possible, as much as we have access to, as well as eat them in their wholesome form, the seasonal fruits and vegetables, if we can focus more and more on them. But for someone who's just beginning, anything that they like, whether it's seasonal or not, whether it's organic or not, like still they should just look at increasing the quantities, because fruits and vegetables actually are our most natural food. And one thing that they do is that, of course, they're like low in calories as well as higher in so many nutrients. So they flood our system with, they keep us light. They flood our system with, all the nutrients that our body requires for the healing process. As well as another thing that starts to happen is that when we increase the quantities, they also start to crowd out the bad stuff, right? So we don't actually have to even work on the so much intensively on crowding out or like cutting down on the foods which are not good for us, because the moment these start to come in into our body, automatically the other foods become lesser. We start to crave, and our body actually knows best. It's got its own intuitive wisdom. So the moment we start giving the good food, then it starts to actually like wean off the other food. We want less of the other food, and we want more of the fruits and vegetables, because that's what our body likes. Number two thing is the number two habit, which I would say is eating mindfully. So, so many of us are like, with myself included, when I started my journey, like I didn't know why I was eating, you know, and I would just eat by the clock. It's time for breakfast, it's time for lunch, it's time for dinner. So I also encourage people to ask themselves before every meal, like really check in with their bodies, like, am I really hungry? Or if I'm hungry, then how hungry am I? you know so those kind of things. And then of course, when we sit down to eat, to really like develop this like re-establish this relationship that we have with food, wherein we keep distractions away, not eat while we're working, while we're on the phone, while we're watching TV, or doing any other activity, but to really like take your meal time, or when you're eating, as a sacred time wherein you're literally like on a date with your food. you know you're fully engaged with that, you chew well. And even if it's food that is not good for you, say you may be having a sugary dessert which even contains all the bad stuff in it, sit down. If you really do want to eat it, just sit down and eat it mindfully, and you'll see that you're satisfied with so much lesser. So I would say these are the top two habits,
Thank you.
including more fruits and vegetables and eating mindfully.
Thank you. So let me come back to you, Vinita. What are some of the biggest barriers or challenges that your clients come to you with, and how do you help them overcome them?
So this would be probably common to a lot of us. Most of our clients will say that we don't have the time, the paucity of time. And the second is not knowing enough about food. They don't know how to cook, or they don't know how to make it interesting. It's amazing, seemingly very educated, very with it people don't have basic knowledge about food combining, about, just what to eat at what time. And I don't blame people, because there is so much information out there that they just get, overwhelmed with the information. So when it comes to paucity of time, what I like to sit down and do is, I have this very detailed client information form which they fill out. And beforehand, I kind of see what kind of a person this person is. It's quite clear to see if they're getting enough sleep or not, if they're giving time to exercise or not, do they, what's their day like. And then I try and work with each client and say, if we really have to fix your health, and we really want to move to the next level, what is it that we can negotiate about? What are the things that are not so essential which you can drop, so that you can put that time in for exercise, so that you can put that time in for maybe playing with your child, or fixing that smoothie for yourself. Let's make time. And most people realize that a lot of time is spent sometimes unproductively. We've just gotten habituated to the idea of being busy all the time. And now with the way things have changed, because people have been more at home, it's given a chance to also for people to reconsider that what do you want to spend time on now. And it's also scared a lot of people especially with underlying health issues have realized that if we don't fix this, there's no saving us. So paucity of time is something that you almost have to work like a counselor, where it's no longer about the food. First you have to make the time, you have to get them to commit, and then you work with the nitty-gritties of their individual schedules. And for learning more about food, what I like to do is, I give them a lot of reading material as I go along, educating them about simple things like soaking dal before consuming it, why not to pressure cook, simple things like that, as well as making it very specific to that person. Which area are they staying in? What are the vendors they need? Most people want to make the change, but they can't figure out where to buy, how to make, what do I do? They feel good that they can go to one person who can tell them all that. So I try and give them that. And also there are a lot of online courses that I have come up with for this purpose, so that okay, you want to train your cook, okay, show them this. You want to learn more salads, okay, here's a bunch of recipes. You want to know how to make dairy-free alternatives? Here's a course you can take. You want to know how to make fermented foods because it's great for your gut health? Here's a course. And then if people are interested, they at least know where to go. So I think it's become things like Amazon have been a great help for us, but the Amazon mentality has made it such that there's just too much choice and people don't know now, okay, how do I sift through all this and how do I know what to do? So yeah, I just kind of help people to narrow it down and say, okay, tiny bites and start doing this rather than get overwhelmed with doing everything.
So, if I understand correctly, you're helping them to find the time within their own schedule by identifying where they may be wasting it and where they could be investing it into movement, into their healthy habits. And
Yes.
secondly, you're hand holding them through the process where they're in a world where they have no idea how to even access some of the products and how to
Yes.
make some of the basic changes, and you're helping
Yes.
them with that. That's
Yes.
really wonderful. Thank you. And this is why I think it's such a good thing that there are many health coaches. When I first started working as a health coach, people would say, what is a health coach? Because they had
Yeah.
never heard of it, and I'm sure all of you have faced that as well.
Yes.
And I would say, think about like a sporting coach
Yes.
who
In fact,
helps
that's
you.
the that's the connotation coach came with in
Correct.
India, at least.
Yeah.
It was always to do with a sports teacher.
Yeah. So a sporting coach helps you improve your sports performance. Similarly, a health coach helps you get to whatever health goals you might have for yourself and shows you the tips and tricks and ways of doing it. So, Manasa, how about you? What are the biggest barriers some of your clients bring you, and how do you help them?
So I think how I see this is at the crux of it, we have not been taught to understand health or to define health for ourselves. It's a very restrictive definition or idea of health that we have, and we discover that much later in life. So that's the idea that people, that's the mindset that people come with, and which is the most damaging thing. So what I mean by that is health is usually weight for most people till something breaks that is very significant, like a chronic disease or like something life changing, almost like disease that has significant repercussions on well being and how you see your future. So if 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 we all understood that as children, as a part of our education, that health means to feel energetic, to feel great every day, to age slower, to not have disease, to have high immunity, to be able to take on any athletic goals or physical activity, or your ambition in life at any point in life. There are too many mindset um, kind of real things that stop people at the age of 50. There is an expectation of poor health, there is an expectation of diabetes, there is an expectation of high cholesterol. All these are damaging thought processes. These are, I mean, this is the first thing that I work with people on, that their expectation from health or of health should be huge. It should be wide. It's how they wake up every morning. It should be with energy. It should not be feeling tired. If they want to do a 5K, a 10K, run a marathon, it should be possible in the realm of their possibility. If they want to reduce their blood sugar levels through food, that is in the realm of possibility. People at an intrinsic level believe that none of this is possible, and they believe that their health is only in the number on their weighing scale, which I think is the start of a bunch of damaging decisions, food choices, lifestyle choices. So the inherent belief that calories and reduction and weight and health is about reward and punishment. If I did something good, let me eat a large meal, enjoy. And if I've gained weight, let me punish myself into not eating. Uh, which for food, which is nourishment and life giving and creating energy on a cellular level, is is just the wrong start point. So that's the biggest mindset shift that I work with. When I take on somebody to work with as a client. And that's the crux. I think if we can start that education much early, a lot of us will make much healthier choices in general. Because if I believe everything that I eat is going to give me, life changing energy, and it will change the way I think, change the way I can take on my running or yoga, or change the way my mental focus is at work, I will make different choices. But if food is only about calories and weight, then my choices will be very different. It will always be very transactional and very poor and very kind of one dimensional. So if that's so that's it. So when people know and understand very deeply that if they sleep on time, they wake up feeling this way, and they're if they eat on time, and if they eat more during the day and less during the night, how they feel, how balanced their circadian rhythm is, how their hormones are, if they remove refined sugar from their diet, how it impacts their hormones and their PCOD. If that explanation and that detailed understanding happens, then all of the future choices and changes and habit changes is much easier to happen, and for the person or for the client, because then it's a natural choice. But that crux, I think, is the biggest breakthrough that as a coach I work with people on.
So, if I understand correctly, when you started, you mentioned that people have this notion in their head that as they age, they're going to get diabetes or whatever. And it's their belief system that is not accurate. So, have I understood you correctly that you educate them about the power of their lifestyle, which can help overcome and change the belief that they might be having? Is that what it is?
Yes, absolutely. So both ways. For a lot of people, it's about the belief that health is equal to weight, and for a lot of others, people who are more middle aged, they assume that their health will deteriorate and they will have chronic disease as a part of life itself, and the fact that their parents had it, or their family has diabetes and whatnot, and they don't believe that the power of changing their health lies with them, their choices, and that's the crux of the understanding also. So yes.
Okay. Bhavna, what are some of the challenges your clients bring you and how do you help them solve it? You're muted.
Yeah, okay. So, of course, the number one is lack of time. And so, they live in metro cities, they may have jobs, they may have other priorities, which, make health like a big challenge for them. And of course, as far as I'm concerned, to begin with, I give them lots and lots of, I do a detailed analysis of like, where is it, what their health concerns are, and start to look at like, what are the smallest of changes they can make, which do not take time and will bring them the maximum results. So lots and lots of tips and tricks and hacks like that, when it comes to food, when it comes to, just daily movement and things like that. But over and above that, when if we do happen to work over a longer period of time, like say for 3 or 6 months, then I also like to bring to their notice that whatever they don't have time for is in fact not their priority. So therefore, if they're not getting time for health, then that means in fact it's not a priority for them. And it may be true that, for a lot of people who are like in their 30s or 40s, like, they may have work schedules which are very long, or they may have families and children which may actually be their priority, and they cannot shift that also. They cannot they cannot move that and then, make health their top priority. So then what we do is that we actually, like, at least like there comes the, there need, that understanding comes that, okay, like these are my other priorities. But then we start connecting things to back to like how good health would actually help them fulfill their other responsibilities as well. And so we so with each person, the connection happens differently. And so that is like how, like in a small way, I also encourage them that even if health cannot be your total priority and you can't put the other things away, how can you honor yourself in a small way? If you cannot go 100%, how can you do even 5%? So say, for example, you don't have time for, like for a 1 hour of exercise. So how can you even start with like 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Or if your children are your priority, then, like just giving them, in fact, sometimes they come up like, our coaching sessions are very informal and very discussion oriented. So it's not always me giving suggestions. it's like I encourage them to come up with solutions for themselves. So so it may be that some like a client of mine recently in fact came up with the fact that she could since she doesn't have time for exercise, she can just a few times in the week she can take her children to the to the outdoors, and they can play together, they can run together, they can do some those kind of things together. So it actually combines both her priorities, which are her children, spending time, quality time with the children, as well as taking care of her health and adding some movement into her life. The second barrier, which I feel, is like lack of a culture of health, in our country in general. So there may be people, like there may be one person in the family who's come to me, but that person lives in a joint family, or maybe their husband or their peers may be not health oriented at all. So the kind of things they do, the kind of life they live, she's that person is not actually able to, like, making healthy choices is difficult, and it that person may actually be also standing out as a sore thumb for making those choices, and that's like uncomfortable for the person. So again, it begins with like practical tips on how to kind of like honor, like the what the person wants to do in a small way, even if they are not able to like go 100%, but at the same time not be demotivated, because ultimately it's really about like what we the journey that we want to take on in our heart. And as we keep working then along the way, um like we may do something like a vision board where like they look at what what kind of a life they want in the long run, and what kind of health they want, like say 10 years from now. And that kind of gives them the motivation to start making real changes and introduce health aspect with their peers, with the family, in a slow and subtle sort of a way, with an understanding that this is a lifelong process. It's not like they're working with me for 3 months or 6 months, like this is it, like they have to like nail it within the 3 to 6 months. So help them understand how they can actually go on in this journey and continue to build this culture of health within the environment that they have, because this is the only way that things will change. When health live, like making a healthier choice will be more acceptable. So Nandini, you're on mute.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, thank you for that. You've been a yoga practitioner for 30 years, you said. And I have spent a considerable amount of time with you, and I know that you actually practice what you preach and you do yoga every day. Now, when I was working as a health coach, still am kind of, but a lot of people come up with this barriers to exercise because they're just not motivated. Something just keeps them in their bed or in their room, or they always find something more important to do at that particular time when they're supposed to go for their walk or their yoga or whatever. I would like to ask everybody, actually, starting with Bhavna, how do you help people overcome the the uh, the barrier to exercise, to add regular movement into their day? Because this is one of the most common problems. I mean, there are jokes about it and there are all that, but actually it's very real. It's almost like a pain point for our clients. So how do you help them with that?
Yeah, so actually that's very true. It's actually like a really very common thing where, like, especially which I've seen in India, like exercise is just, or movement is just not part of the daily life. And so for people who are actually like not motivated at all, like again, we start with, like, of course, helping them understand what change this little thing will bring into their life. Like, most of them actually don't even understand the importance of movement. And the fact that, like, even without taking out time for exercise in their daily life, like even through the day they can be they can be active. That itself is also counted as movement. So giving them small uh, like tips on that, like, say for example, like even how Vinita had shared, just to go and bring your own water, or to just do some of the things yourself, like taking the stairs once in a while, or just going down to buy something rather than buying it online and things like that. But like essentially, like our bodies are made for movement, and I encourage them to actually like start with even just 5 to 10 minutes of some kind of, it could be a walk if they're not doing it. Walking is the easiest thing to do. Or if they're more inclined to something else, then like I ask them what they would like to, what is it that they would like to spend like just 5 to 10 minutes doing. And 5 to 10 minutes actually like anybody can commit to, so I don't even try and ask them to like do for half an hour or 1 hour or something like that. So they make their commitment, and then they are accountable to keep that. So we start really, really small. And then along the way, I also encourage them to find out what is it that their body really enjoys, what kind of movement their body really enjoys. So recently, a client of mine who had been really, really overweight, and he, has a banking job and was just not moving at all, like totally sedentary life. He just like over the course of our conversations, he discovered that way back in school, he was into boxing. And so that suddenly kind of came back to him, and as we coached together, I think the food and various other things made a difference, and he felt like he wants to connect back to that. And so he got this boxing, that thing and the gloves, and he started doing that for 15-20 minutes at home. So I feel like it's really like what I try to do is I try to dig out from within them what they would really enjoy. And when they enjoy that, then it's not like a punishment anymore, right? It's more
Yeah.
like I want to do it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
that's really, yeah,
yeah.
very, very helpful, because I'm sure there are many people today who are among the viewers who have similar challenges. So if I've understood you correctly, one, you are telling them that that you can start really small. You can start with 5 minutes instead of putting goals which are like 1 hour and you end up failing on them all the time. And the second thing that Bhavna is suggesting is that you can do something that you enjoy. And like the case of the gentleman who was reminded of the boxing that he used to enjoy, somebody might enjoy just dancing, and somebody might just enjoy walking their dog or playing with their kids or anything like that. So that's very valuable. Can I ask you, Manasa, what is it that you would say to somebody who's struggling with, and among our viewers today, who's struggling with adding exercise into their daily routine?
Yeah, so my approach is two-way. One is exactly what Bhavna does, which is that I usually talk to them about their childhood, because even for a sedentary person, that's usually the time that they have been most active in their life. And if it's an activity that they've enjoyed as a child, whether it's a sport or whether it's dancing or just being more uninhibited at that point in their time, and if they can bring back that activity, which not only is a physical movement but also is a feel good for the day, and that has a multiplier effect, because they feel great and their bodies feel great, and it's something that they can commit to. So whether it's playing football again with a group, or going and playing cricket, or even dancing with the room closed and some music of choice. So that's usually a great start point. The second thing that I speak to people about is what are their physical ailments because of that sedentary lifestyle. Is it some kind of back issue, or a stress, shoulders? Usually with a lot of sitting, there are some issues that show on the physical body, and simple yoga stretches and movements and mobility exercises can help make a huge difference to things that they have again believed to be a chronic pain that they have to live with. So just a few pointers on what they can do as a daily 5-minute stretch in the morning or evening, functional aspects of yoga. And that's a huge shift that they see, because yoga has so much to offer in how our bodies can feel so light and so pain free. So usually that's another addition that I recommend people make. Just few stretches, few movements on a daily basis, and incrementally increase that to really get the best of a physical movement, but also something to help relieve their years of sitting in a bad posture, or in a not a aligned chair, and basically slouching and walking with some kind of postural which is not accurate. So we don't tend to realize the amount of pressure it puts on our lower back, on our hips. For women, I also always recommend that they do some bit of strength training, because as we age, that's a critical part of protecting our joints, protecting our bones, protecting how our bodies age, because it's very natural for shoulders to droop, for our posture to get impacted. And then, of course, it impacts our lung capacity. It impacts so many things from a health point of view. Not have joint pains. And a simple thing can be just have some strength building exercises for your legs, for your glutes, for your hamstrings. So these are, again, things that I speak to people about, because they may not realize that strength training is much beyond aesthetic or athletic capability. It's about protecting your body, keeping it strong as we age. So, some stretching and the functional aspects of yoga, some strength building, and some movement for fun, which can be movement, but also, great for your mood, is usually the approach I take with people.
Thank you.
When they start.
Vinita, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I recommend something super simple. Okay, I tell people start with Surya Namaskars, if nothing else. People who can't do Surya Namaskars, I say do a chair Surya Namaskar. And I found the Tibetan rites, the 5 Tibetan rites, and the nitric oxide dump, because they are like micro bits of exercise. They're not even like a full on half an hour, and you can go with the number of counts that you can manage at that time. And what I like about the nitric oxide dump is you can do it 3 times a day. So it makes people feel like, hey, I don't have to devote 1 hour at a time or 20 minutes at a time. You just take 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, and it makes a huge difference. And always, like all of us have said in common, that finding that thing that, makes them get that child in them alive, something that makes them feel, hey, I used to do this, let me start doing that again. And I think most women, I've realized, it's amazing, it's common, most women love to dance. Okay, and the idea of just putting on music, whether it's Zumba, whether it's whatever, and just moving, most people are happy to do. It's the idea of wearing gym clothes and wearing the shoes and getting out of home is what gets people get stuck in that, oh, I don't have the time. And I think during this lockdown, people have struggled, right? What do we do for exercise? People who like to go out. So there was a simple thing that I discovered. It's this 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile walk, which you can do with a YouTube video, and you can add weights to it and whatever. And the best part is, at whatever fitness level you are, you can do it. So you can start from 15 minutes to go up to 40 minutes. So I just find like giving them these little things to start off with, and then even those 5-10 minutes done every day can increase. So that's what I suggest to people.
That's wonderful. I love all the suggestions. And in fact, recently I discovered the nitric oxide dump myself, and I've been doing it. And for those of you who don't know what we are talking about, just go on YouTube and search it, and it'll come up. It's just a set of very, very simple movements that anybody can do, and you just do it for 3 minutes, and it it dumps the nitric oxide out of your body, and it gives your blood vessels can can relax.
Dilate.
Yeah, can dilate. And it's really fun, and you feel like you've done something.
It's good. You really feel the difference. And I made my own little version of a video of the nitric oxide dump on my YouTube channel, so it's there.
Wonderful. So that brings me to, how can people describe your approach? If somebody comes to you, Vinita, saying that I need some help with my health, how do you help them? What's your approach, and how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So I like to take few clients because I really like to invest in them. I actually, I have a little bit of background in Waldorf education, where it was said that every teacher is supposed to actually meditate on the children before she gets into class. And recently, I don't know why, I just felt like, especially some of my clients were not making progress. I said, what am I doing other than saying, do this, do this? So I decided to actually visualize them and meditate for them, like thinking of them, that I wish this person got the energy or that motivation to do this, or this person got that feeling to do this. Rather than say it, I just sent that intent towards them. So I think what I like to do is nothing earth-shatteringly different than what any of us probably do. take down their information, sit with them as a unique person, not number 3 on my list today, sit down and see what their priorities are, break it down, and just talk to them as, I've realized most people today, when I speak to them, all they really want is someone to listen to them. They already know a lot of stuff. It's just about you bringing it out in a bite size, easy to digest form, and of course follow a method to it, getting plant-based food as the focal point, getting to eat clean, organic, seasonal food, and then adding lifestyle changes to them, to their life, whatever needed. And whenever possible, when I see that openness, I also talk about, a little bit of meditation, suggest even if it's apps to get them to do it, because it's not important how you do it, it's important to start thinking about it and adding it to your life. So I like to do a holistic thing where we're not only working with food, because a gym person will say, oh, it's your it's your food. The food person says, oh, it's your exercise. So it's not either, it's that and a lot more. And we forget the bigger chunk is the mind, which is hardest to work with. But at least as a nutrition or a lifestyle coach, the important aspect is to bring them to that fact that you do need to work on your mind as well, your relationships as well, your relationships with yourself, and start working on those aspects. Though it's not something that I'm fully qualified to get into, but at least suggest a counselor to them if needed, because I realize at some point it's these unhealthy thought patterns that have become us. And Mansa, what you said about, if we were taught when we were younger that health is something for life and we should have the energy and all of that, the thing is, when we are kids, we inherently have it. So we don't, when we are young, we used to think we'll be like that forever. We never thought that you would age. It's that some, as we grow, we start developing that, right? That, oh, ye to aayega hi life mein, kind of thing. So it's important to teach kids what is great nutrition and what it does for you. But I think the reason it doesn't penetrate much is because people around them do different things, but they intrinsically are feeling very energetic. So when we lose that, it's important to just reconnect that we were born to be healthy. Health is our birthright. The body knows how to heal, and just connect the dots for people. I think that's how I see my role. And to connect with me, people can reach me via my website, which is Vinita Contractor, social media, which is Vinita Contractor, or call my office number or email, which is mail@vinitacontractor.com.
Thank you. Can I ask you, Bhavna, next to share what's your approach and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so very, very similar to Vinita's actually. So, when anybody comes to me, we actually have an initial conversation where I actually try to understand what the person's health goals are. And are they aligned? Like, and is the person actually open to making changes? Because a lot of times, like how Manasa had also like shared that, our whole idea of getting healthy is like so narrow that I just want to lose weight and I want to, like I have these goals and this is how I want to do it. So I basically want to know like what if the approach, like if they're open for like an approach which is more holistic. And once they come on, then of course I have their form with me, and that gives me good information about what kind of lifestyle they have, what kind of diet they have. And through the first session together, we come to what the root cause of whatever concerns they have are, what the root cause is. And many times they've come to me for like one particular thing, but then in the form there's like many other issues as well, and they're not really like seeking to even heal that. But I try to help them understand how everything is interrelated, because the body is one and everything affects one another. So then that's where we start off, and then of course we start to make small bite-sized changes within the diet and lifestyle, the most important ones to begin with, that would actually give them relief and help them feel the difference, the maximum difference. And then with successive sessions, we keep like reviewing the progress, tracking how they're actually doing, what's working for them, what's not working for them, what is particular to their like current lifestyle, and what works for them most. So that's how we kind of continue working on. And then of course later on we also take on things like emotional eating and we do delve a little bit into the mind aspect as well, of what are the thought processes which are getting in the way of reaching the health goals. um, and then there's like, I mean, I try to empower them with lots and lots of tools that will help them remain accountable, because of course, we just do a session once every 15 days, but everything they have to actually like track. So it could be a food diary, it could be like wellness tracker, various tools to help them actually see what are they actually doing. And most of the time, like they're like they the once they start maintaining this kind of a tracker, they realize where they're going wrong. And they thought they were doing this, but they're actually not doing it so consistently. So the whole idea is to help them build, change their habits in a very very small way and get consistent with certain things which they can stick through with life. And of course, I can be reached on my website, which is healthnut.in, or my social media, which is also healthnut bhavna, Facebook, Instagram.
Thank you. Manasa, how about you? What's your approach and how can people reach you?
So I think this question and all of our responses, which are similar in a huge way, is also the pure definition of a health coach, and the approach being holistic rather than the traditional nutritionist who will ask, mostly around, the conversation is mostly around calories and macros, and how our approach is all about every aspect of lifestyle and habits, and way beyond food, but focused on habits per se. So yes, so I have a very detailed conversation with the person, and it is about all aspects about their food, their lifestyle, their routine, but also about their health goals, about what is the reason for that goal. Sometimes it's very clear and it's more chronic disease led, but sometimes it's the fear. They may come in with a weight being the goal, but after having a conversation, we together come out with that realization that the parents or grandparents may have had a chronic disease, and that's the deep seated fear that has brought them here today with me. Or it could be the fact that they have newborn kids or younger kids, and they have a realization that their habits are getting reflected in the children, and the fear for their children's future health has brought them here today. So it's very important for me to understand their deep-seated motivation of coming, which is the first step. Meeting a health coach is the first step towards making the shift. So there are a bunch of thoughts and reasons that has brought them here. So I understand that motivation deeply because it helps keep them on track later on. But also how their childhood has been, what kind of food they grew up eating, what changed. Usually people when they finish their education and they move to a different city for work and they live by themselves, that's the point in for a lot of people where there is a break in all of the cultural foods that they've eaten, that they've remained healthy and at a good weight too. And that changes because you've been eating out, and all of the choices vary because there's no cooking. There is only eating at restaurants, and the choices are all made out of entertainment and they're transactional in nature. But there is a shift. So with a detailed conversation like this, what happens is, along with me, the person herself is able to identify points in their life of what changed, what was the reason for any kind of issue, what was the reason when she noticed that she was having hormonal imbalance, what were the signs of reaching to the point where she realized that she had a hormonal imbalance, or what was the point which was the year in her life or his life where he gained 10 kilos, and the being active reduced, or what was the point that depression, feeling depressed became a serious thing, what were the things that led to that. So just understanding that very deeply helps understand the whole person, their journey, and what their motivation is. Then basis the routine and the present lifestyle choices, we together identify the key things to change. which are priorities because they need immediate focus, because they are the most damaging aspects of their present, their full routine or lifestyle. So it's mostly around food, and like Vanita mentioned, it's mostly around making plant-based shifts, irrespective of the label that they come with or they define themselves as vegetarian, meat eaters. Each person can benefit and will benefit from eating more plant-based, and that's the first step. Just eat more of fruit and vegetables, and which meal that is the most easy to shift, easy to change, what habit is the easiest to remove, you know that's something that we work on together. Usually it's things like, is tea important to that person? I wake up and I have this cup of tea, and that's my me time. So even though that's not my ideal choice that they wake up and drink tea in the morning, but it's bringing that one moment of comfort and sanity in a young mother's life. So that's not a habit I would like to touch early on. So things like that, what is easiest to change, what will give the maximum impact in terms of changing their health, moving them towards their health goal, impacting their overall health. We pick habits basis that, and focus only on three or 2 or 3 habits at a time. Get that to a point where it's consistent, where they realize that not doing that one day means that they don't feel as good. So it becomes a real habit only then, and then we move to add more things, and the scope of those things are, of course, in food, in mindfulness, mental health techniques, in movement, in functional movement, where movement can actually help not only solve conditions, but also help with general well-being. But also, it's important sometimes to be a good listener, and look or help people identify if there is some sort of emotional or other relationship issues which are causing a huge impact on health, because that's the real thing. There is a physical or physical impact of mental stress, and that's a real thing. So sometimes those kind of conversations are important too, just to help the person identify and kind of face those realities also, so that they can make intelligent decisions about them. Because as a parent, there are stressors. So how can I offer tips and small insights to help manage that stress better? It's not a situation that one can change. As a parent, there are stressors, but how can you manage that in an efficient way? So sometimes the whole crux of somebody's health issues will lie in different areas of their life. And as a health coach, I approach all of them, and while not all of them can be solved, a lot of small, from one's experience, a lot of insights and tips can be offered, but with the main focus on moving towards more plant-based foods and movement and mindfulness. Other areas of life also benefit significantly, which each of us here, we may have noticed for ourselves in our journey, because you start making one positive change and there is a ripple effect to every area of your life, and even our awareness to those issues, and feeling better from our choices. So that's the journey. I think the idea of working with somebody is that it's a start of, it's me being a part of their health journey, and there is a time that we work together, whether it's 6 months, a year, couple of years, and after that they are very tuned in and mindful about all of the choices and the impact that each of those have on them. And ideally, I want to leave somebody with them not dependent on a meal plan or suggestions from me, but to eat intuitively, to eat with that balance and that understanding. So usually the journey is to that end, that they can be intuitive eaters, mindful eaters, and make choices that are aiding and helping them in their health journey.
So where can people find you? How do they connect?
I'm on Instagram at Mansa Rajan. So that's the best way to connect with me.
Just okay. One open question, any of you can step in and answer, which is I want to know from each of you, of course, but you can go in any order. What inspired you to become a health coach? And one thing you absolutely love about being a health coach?
Okay, I can go first.
Mhm.
So for me, the journey to become a health coach was actually like a very intuitive one, wherein like never in my life like had I ever dreamed that I will like get into health and wellness and I'll be a health coach, you know, something. So it was like something that was really, really far off my radar. But about 10 years ago, I was had lots and lots of health issues, and they were all gut related, and they had reached a point where it was like it was difficult for me to live my life in a normal sort of way. And so that's when I discovered plant-based nutrition, and it was just so miraculous for me that I became really deeply engaged in learning more. I was just a very, very curious person. So I used to be a writer and a filmmaker. So I had this like general curiosity for anything, you know. And this became like my project, wherein like all my free time was spent in just like learning more and more about plant-based nutrition and wellness. And since I was already doing yoga since childhood, somehow I started to feel like, you know, these things are connecting me back to something very deep within my own self. So along the journey, then of course, you know, a couple of years down the line, friends started to ask me for advice, and I realized that I'm actually not able to give them very good advice because I know a lot, but I'm really not. I really don't know how to kind of guide them. So you know, that's what basically, you know, kind of led me to, you know, train to become a health coach, because my skill sets were totally not there, you know, in health coaching at that point. So then I went and I studied further, and I, you know, refined my skills and everything. So that was the motivation, was to kind of be able to help people more effectively. And what was the second thing?
What do you love about being a health coach?
Yeah, so you know, actually what another thing that actually also led me to be a health coach was that I was so deeply into like nutrition and wellness at that point that I felt like if I'm doing anything else as a career or as a profession, that was actually coming in the way of the kind of life I wanted to live. And I felt like being a health coach would be like a free ticket for me. I can actually like invest in my own wellness, and I can, you know, get away with doing like a couple of hours of yoga in the every morning because I'm a health coach. Hey, like, you know, I should be like, you know, I have to like start with myself. So actually that's what I really love about being a health coach, that I get the free ticket to do that. And of course, like once I started connecting with people with, you know, in like in the coaching and the workshops, like that entire interaction and seeing people excited about learning something new, and actually benefiting, I think that's like really, really rewarding as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would like to go next? Make it a little brief because we are running.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'll go next. I've always been brought up in a very health focused family, so it came to me very naturally. I changed gears from being in the corporate world, being in training and customer service, etc., to being a teacher. So that part of sharing and teaching was something that was already with me. But when my family turned plant based about 5.5 years ago, it started this deep inquiry on how do I make sure my kids get enough nutrition, how do I make sure we have everything that we need to do as a family. And there were so many people asking the same questions, and I felt like, hey, I can break this down, I can make it easier. And that's when I started training for it. And that's something I love doing even now on an ongoing basis, because I think there's no end to learning. So that's what led me to it. It was my own requirement to get deeper into it, and then felt the need to share it. And what I love most about being a health coach is being that little person who is in someone else's life, making that little difference, just being like a friend to somebody else. And some can become very deep kind of, bonds. And I think in today's world where there is so much of, superficial conversation and so many, social connects that we have. And then having those few people in your life who actually you kind of work in a symbiotic kind of relationship, and seeing them grow, I think that satisfies me a lot. And what Bhavna said keeps you on track, because you are constantly reading up, trying to, add more value for your clients, and in return you benefit yourself and your family. So that's what keeps me going.
So I'll start with what I love about being a health coach. I think it's the fact that every day and with every work hour that I put in is good karma work. I connect with people on the most positive journey of their life towards improving something. So there is a constant feeling of goodness, that happens because there is a exchange of energy. Like Vinita had mentioned earlier about praying on their positive kind of movement there with each of your clients. And the same thing happens even within a consultation. It is an energy exchange, and there is a lot of energy that you put into somebody's healing, to somebody's that good things happen with them in their health, in their life. And that's a very, very positive life to create for yourself. Besides that, as a part of changing the whole ecosystem of health has been very important for me. And I appreciate that with each client and each person that I work with, it's one step closer to that. Like there are so many things that are happening in our larger ecosystem, whether it's the food chain, whether it's the whole packaged food industry, whether it's the whole healthcare system on how it's focused on illness. We are making that shift, and that kind of keeps me on track, because there is so much to be done, but also it's such positive work, because it every day kind of energizes you to do more of, and the love that you get back in return. I started off with my own health journey. I was a new mother. I was trying to, this is 10 years ago. Well, I started my own journey about 15 years ago, but it was when my daughter was, unwell. She had some health issues. And when we moved out of all processed food, all sugar, all dairy, and, just went completely whole food, plant-based, and how that cured her. And, with that change, our friends and family and our own health, my own health changed so significantly. That it put me on this path of trying to get this change, just get other people to experience this change. And that was the beginning of my journey.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank each of you individually for being part of this panel for Global Vegan Business Expo, which is an initiative for India's biggest virtual event to unite eco-economic growth and responsible businesses. So thank you so much for being here. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and have picked up lots and lots of tips, and I'm sure the audience as well, for improving our life, for prioritizing health, for understanding that it's not really hard. It can be very simple, especially if we break it down into small bite-sized pieces. And at the end of the day, doing what every 5-year-old knows is good for health, eating more fruits and more vegetables, moving more, and spreading good cheer around. So thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Nandini.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.